There's an old story from a training hall in Osaka about a student who couldn't bring himself to practice. He knew everything, read every text, memorized every technique, could recite the principles better than anyone. But every morning, when it was time to step into that freezing courtyard and actually train, he'd just stand in the doorway. He understood what needed to happen. He just couldn't make himself do it. After weeks of this, his teacher finally said something that changed everything. Knowledge that never moves through your body becomes poison in your mind. You know too much and do too little. That's why you're suffering. That observation describes exactly where most of us are living right now. You know what you need to do: sleep earlier, eat better, focus deeper, move your body, start the project, have that conversation, build the habit. You've consumed all the content, read all the advice. The information isn't the problem anymore. But you still find yourself stuck at that doorway every single day, scrolling, distracting yourself from the exact work that would actually change your life if you just do it. This is about why that gap exists between knowing and doing, and what older traditions can teach us about finally closing it. First, you need to understand something uncomfortable about how your brain actually works. Your brain wasn't designed to make you successful. It was designed to keep you alive in a dangerous world with limited resources. Which means it's constantly trying to conserve energy and avoid anything that feels hard or uncertain. Difficult work costs your brain energy and offers no immediate payoff. From your brain's ancient perspective, that's a terrible deal. So, when you sit down to do something hard, your brain quietly generates resistance. Suddenly, you remember texts to send, things to check, videos to watch. Literally anything easier than what's in front of you. This isn't weakness. This is a 50,000-year-old survival program running in the background. The problem is that this ancient mechanism that once kept your ancestors alive is now actively sabotaging your life. All the things that would build the future you want, deep work, patient practice, difficult conversations, your brain reads those as dangerous waste. Meanwhile, every app and platform has been engineered to give your brain instant satisfaction with zero effort. So, you're caught between a primitive system that resists hard work because it seems risky, and a modern world that constantly offers easier options that feel safe. No wonder so many of us end up paralyzed, knowing exactly what to do, but unable to actually do it. Japanese culture understood this human tendency centuries ago, and they built something different in response. While everyone else was trying to motivate people with inspiration and willpower, they quietly built a system based on the body, on ritual, on rewiring the brain through small daily action. The core idea: you can't command the mind directly, but the mind will eventually follow if the body acts consistently enough. This idea lives in a concept called shugyo, disciplined practice that transforms you at the deepest level. Shugyo is the path of the swordsman, the calligrapher, the tea master, the monk. It's not based on motivation, because practitioners of shugyo figured out long ago that motivation is unreliable. It vanishes the moment things get hard. Instead, shugyo is based on showing up to the same practice every day, whether you feel like it or not, until the practice itself reshapes who you are from the inside. The old teacher in that opening story wasn't asking his student to feel motivated. He was asking him to step into the cold, whether he felt ready or not. Because that's the only way the resistance actually breaks. My grandfather wrote something I now consider one of the most important truths I've ever encountered. He said, "The difference between people who build meaningful lives and people who don't is almost never about what they know. It's about whether they've learned to act before their feelings agree." Most people wait until they feel ready, until they feel motivated, until they feel like doing the hard thing. But here's the truth: you almost never feel like doing the hard thing. So, waiting for the feeling is the same as waiting forever. The people who actually build the lives they want are the ones who've learned to take that first small action while the resistance is still loud inside them, and to trust that the feeling will catch up. This is one of the greatest secrets of human change, and almost nobody teaches it openly. Action doesn't come from motivation. Motivation comes from action. The reason you don't feel like exercising is because you haven't started exercising yet. The reason you don't feel like writing is because you haven't started writing. Once you take even the smallest first step, something in your brain begins to shift. The resistance softens, and within minutes you find yourself doing the very thing you were avoiding moments before. The doorway is the entire battle. Everything past it is easier than you imagined. In Japanese martial traditions, there's a concept called kata, formal, repeated movements a student practices over and over until the body knows them better than the mind does. The point of kata isn't to make you think about what to do. It's to remove thinking entirely, so when the moment comes, your body just acts without giving your mind a chance to negotiate. This is why masters insist students practice the same form thousands of times. They're not building knowledge, they're building automatic action that bypasses the resisting brain completely. You can use this same principle in your own life in a way that genuinely changes how you operate. Instead of waking up and asking yourself whether you feel like doing the work, you build a small kata of your own, a fixed sequence you perform automatically before your brain gets a chance to argue. For me, it's simple. Alarm rings. I don't check my phone. I don't lie there thinking. I don't negotiate. I sit up, drink water, make tea, sit at my desk, open yesterday's document. The whole thing takes maybe 20 minutes, and by the time I'm done, I'm already inside the work, without ever having decided to start. The kata carried me past the doorway while my resistance was still half asleep. There's another principle that speaks directly to our modern struggle. It's called gaman, patient endurance of difficulty without complaint. Gaman is deeply respected in traditional Japanese culture, and it represents something our world has almost completely abandoned. We now live in a culture that treats discomfort like an emergency to solve immediately. Bored? Check your phone. Work gets hard? Find an easier task. Feel uncertain? Seek distraction. But gaman teaches that discomfort isn't a signal to escape. Discomfort is the texture of any worthwhile effort. Learning to stay inside it without panic is the foundation of every meaningful achievement. Your brain doesn't resist hard work because it's unbearable. It resists because you've lost the ability to sit with ordinary discomfort without immediately seeking relief. Every time you grab your phone the moment a task gets difficult, you're training your brain to expect rescue from any uncomfortable feeling, which makes the next moment of difficulty even harder. Gaman works in the opposite direction. Every time you stay inside the discomfort a little longer than you want to, your tolerance grows. The resistance that once stopped you starts losing its power. This brings me to maybe the most important truth I've come to understand about hard work. Your brain doesn't naturally crave hard work, but it can be slowly trained to crave it through a strange and beautiful process. When you do difficult work consistently and let yourself fully experience the satisfaction that comes after, your brain starts associating the difficulty itself with the deep reward that follows. Over time, this association grows so strong that the difficulty stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like the necessary entrance to a state of meaning nothing else provides. This is why old craftsmen look forward to their morning practice, why old farmers feel restless on days they can't work, why old artists become more devoted to their craft as years pass. They haven't become superhuman, they've just trained their brains over many years to crave the very thing the rest of the world avoids. The path to that state starts with one small principle I want you to take seriously. You don't need to feel motivated to begin. You only need to begin before the resistance fully wakes up. Set aside 10 minutes tomorrow morning, before you check any screens, before you negotiate with yourself, before your brain finds 100 reasons to delay. Use those 10 minutes to do the one thing you've been avoiding. Just 10 minutes. You're not committing to an hour, not committing to transformation, not committing to anything except those 10 quiet minutes. 10 minutes is enough to crack the door open, and once the door's open, your brain will follow you inside more often than you expect. The young swordsman in that opening story eventually did learn to step into the courtyard each morning. According to legend, someone once asked his master what finally changed in the young man's mind. The master said nothing changed in his mind at all. The young man simply walked through the doorway one morning before his thoughts could stop him. Then the next morning. Then the morning after that. Until the cold of that courtyard became the most familiar thing in his life. The mind follows the body, the master said. It doesn't lead it. If you've been struggling with this gap between what you know and what you do, understand that the gap isn't a sign something's wrong with you. The gap is the most universal human experience there is. What separates people who eventually close that gap isn't intelligence or willpower or discipline. It's the simple, repeated decision to act before the resistance approves, and to trust that the feelings will catch up with the movement. I'd love to hear in the comments, what's the one thing you know you should do but keep avoiding? Sometimes naming it openly is the first step toward finally beginning. Take care of yourselves. The life you're capable of building is much closer than the resistance wants you to believe. I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.